Hey there, mamas. It's your girl, Nina Shea, aka Mama Bear. And this is the Mama Bear podcast where love and wisdom are shared and somebody is finally listening. Today in the den, I am joined by a woman who truly embodies strength, grace, and purpose. I'm talking about actress, beauty queen, former beauty queen, breast cancer survivor, and now an advocate helping women walk through one of the most difficult times in their life with dignity and care. And she's not only inspiring, she's personal to me. She's my beautiful friend, and let's welcome Renee Lawless. Good morning, beautiful.
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to be on the same time zone with you.
Yeah, yes, finally.
Finally, yes, yes.
Yeah, well, welcome to the Mama Bear podcast. I really do appreciate you sitting in and
My
talking
pleasure.
through the
Anything
day.
for you.
Oh, I love you too. It's been a minute. How's everything going?
Everything's doing wonderful.
Uh-huh.
Been adjusting to being back on the East Coast and all of the good and the bad and everything that comes with it. But I'm
Mhm.
making way.
All right, awesome. And you are in Florida.
Yes, Jacksonville, Florida.
Uh-huh.
I'm in my parents' home. They're in glory now,
God rest their
and
soul.
yeah, and so I had to take care of some things that had been neglected for a while, but
Mhm.
otherwise it's mine, it's paid for, and it's great.
That's good. And I know it's different from Cali, but maybe
It's much
hopefully.
different, and I every day I miss. I got to say, I'm grateful to have a roof over my head, but I miss my friends. I
Yeah.
miss. I really loved where I lived in California. It was the first home I had ever purchased, and I really liked what I did with it.
Hmm.
And I miss the weather.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta tell you, I gotta tell you, I
Right.
have a cemetery on my front porch
Okay.
because I have this it's like a back porch, but it's the main. I call it my front porch, and it's
Hmm.
beautiful and it's covered, but it seems to be the haven for condo building for wasps.
Really?
So I warn them. I say, if you don't stop building, you're going to die tonight, and they don't listen.
So somebody's dying.
And so I spray the thing. And so I've got these gorgeous, bright, like chartreuse green. They're like these catchers. They're not ugly. And they hang all across. And there's just like a cemetery for the wasps. And I walk out and I hear them sticking there and dying. And I go, I warned you. I told you you were going to meet Jesus. I told you to repent of your sins. And you did not listen. And so I just have a wasp graveyard every summer. Now in the winter, I'm good, but so people go, "What's your?" I said, "It's just a graveyard."
Right. And I could just imagine you going out there and being
Oh, I
like,
talk to them. I go,
okay.
sit there. You just sit there. That house is all that work. It's going to come right down. I'm gonna, and they don't listen.
Okay, well, we're going to learn today,
They're
right?
going to learn. They're going to learn. And I have a system. I'm not afraid of them.
Hmm.
I'm used to I know how to deal with them. Just
Okay.
call me the wasp. The wasp ranger.
Okay, and we already know they don't want to get on your
You know
bad
what?
side. Okay. They don't really
Other people
know.
deal with mosquitoes. I deal with wasps. It's
That's
whatever it
true.
is.
Well, you got to do what you got to do to
You got to
protect
do what you
your,
got to
your
do.
peace, not only your property, but your peace.
Right, exactly.
Well, it is so really good to see you
Good to
again. I
see
know
you.
we've been, looking to catch up with one another.
Mhm.
And you're in Florida, but you are truly like a Southern belle. Where are
Oh,
you?
honey. Oh,
Tell everybody
honey.
where you're from.
Let me tell you, I was born in the great state. The God's country spoke down from heaven and blessed this country with Tennessee. And I was born in Knoxville at the University of Tennessee Hospital. I am a Vol for life. I bleed
Really?
orange. My first car was orange. My parents were UT people. I'm a diehard volunteer. I follow them in sports. I'm a diehard football with them. I'm following now with March Madness.
Hmm.
And the girls sadly aren't doing so well. The men are doing great. And but I am a diehard Tennessean, but I've been in Florida since I was 9.
Mm.
So if you
Okay.
do the math, I'm technically more of a Floridian. But
Yeah.
you can take the girl out of Tennessee, but you can't take the Tennessee out of the girl. And I still have relatives there. Mom and dad are buried there. I go up to the graveyard when I'm in town, sit on the headstone. My granddaddy 100 years ago bought this massive headstone. I've got a plot there. People that are still alive. And I
Really?
just sit there and conversation, mom and dad and the grandpa and mama and papa. And I just sit there and talk.
I love it. I love it. And when you go and you visit with your family, do you do like I'm doing here right now, just kind of figuring out where the fish fry is, and then sitting on the porch and drinking a little bit of lemonade, sweet tea?
Right, exactly. As I was there at Christmas, my cousin uncle, he's
Okay.
technically my second cousin. He was my mom's cousin,
Okay.
but he has been more like an older brother uncle to me my whole life. I mean, he
Mhm.
changed my diaper. And he is basically the father figure that or grandfather figure that's kind of left in my life. And he just turned 80 and I don't know how much longer he'll be with us. And that will be a real blow. It'll be like losing a parent,
Mm.
all over again. And he's still there. And at Christmas, I literally went up, I sat in the lounge chair next to him for the whole week. And we just sat and ate and watched TV for a week. I
Aw.
gained 10 pounds in 1 week. His daughter is a phenomenal cook,
Mm.
and she was there the whole week and made a fresh meal. I was like, okay, we're going to have to roll me out of here,
That's
but so yeah, I go up and I help a little, but there was some things that had already been taken care of. So it was mainly just some time to spend quality time with him. He is a
mm.
Vietnam veteran. He did 2 tours, and he is a big hero to me
Okay.
and a rock star to me in many, many ways. And so just the quality time I can have with them means a
Yeah.
lot to me.
And I can appreciate that. We've been talking for a while about me coming, back to
Right.
be a little closer, to my dad. And when
Hmm.
I sit and, he also is a veteran, and 90. And when I think about just the contribution that they make and just, how much they mean in your life. And a lot of times we don't think about this as much until they're not here.
Not
And
here.
so, I know what you mean. I don't have as many family members as I did before. A lot of, my
Mhm.
mom's siblings, she's got two brothers, that are alive, and
Mhm.
I have a lot of uncles and, people here,
Right.
and aunts and all, but it's just good to really sit and just kind of soak all of that in because, they really are, they have some amazing stories. And like I said, when they're not here, then you think about that and you feel it differently.
Right.
But yeah. So I'm glad you get a chance to do that. And I can only imagine from your schedule and from your lifestyle to be able to kind of just go home and sit and
Right.
just those moments mean a
Mm.
lot.
A,
Yeah,
a, a great deal, a great deal. And he's been a big champion of mine for years,
good.
decades. And so yeah, it was a blessing to be able just to take that time off and go.
Absolutely. Yeah. So taking the time off, you are in Florida, and I know, it's been a minute since you've been on a regular, right? Or a regular on a
Mhm. Mhm.
show like the one that we all know
Lo-
and
but I'm getting a whole bunch
Katheryn
of new viewers,
Cryer.
right?
Of
People stop me still all the time. When are you coming
course.
back? And I'm like, honey, that's above my pay grade. Y'all need to hound Tyler. That's above, but
Oh, no. Well,
you know,
we need to talk to Tyler because that's when I first fell in love with you, when I
Mhm.
saw the show and I would sit and I just, I got to a point where I just had to just sit and just watch and sit and watch.
Right,
And
right.
sometimes I think I told you that my husband, sometimes he'd come downstairs and he passed by and he's like, oh, you just go sit and just watch. And I said, listen, if you do, you need to sit down and watch. And then eventually he would pass by and he started asking. So he fell in love with Katheryn Cryer.
Oh, that's
And then
wonderful.
he would ask questions because he would see, like, your son and all of the things that he was going through. And then Angela, her
Well,
character and then her
the
son.
funny thing about you're saying about your husband, excuse me,
Mhm,
me trying to get comfortable here.
mhm,
I can't tell you. I still get stopped. And we've got a whole new fan base that just picked us up on streaming.
mhm.
And I get stopped by men all the time. My wife loves you. My wife loves you. And I
Uh-huh.
go, but you stop me.
Right.
And I
Because
go,
he does too.
because you stop me. Meaning he watches it too. He's just not telling the world
Right.
that he is equally is invested, So
Right. So I just truly love that show and
thank you.
getting to know, you're welcome. I mean, you were phenomenal. And when I met you, to me, I saw, well, first of all, you're such a strong woman and your presence is commanding and you just are one that, you're strong, but they would characterize you as volatile and, different things, but
Mhm.
me, you were strong but very caring, and you were all about your family, and people were not going to mess with your family,
Mhm.
even though Candace got on my daggone nerves. And I just wanted
And Catherine's.
and listen, oh my goodness, it was crazy, but I loved the woman that you were. I loved the way you ran your ship. I loved the strength that you gained, like it wasn't that you never had it, but you were one of those kind of women that, just like to me, like the wasp, you're like, okay, listen, like I'm letting you know, you keep on messing
I'm
around.
from the South. I know where to
Yeah,
bury you and hide the body. You know what I'm saying?
basically,
And that's what
basically.
Katheryn was, basically.
Yeah. So I'm just curious to know, did you really uh, sit down and kind of give input to Tyler Perry as to how Catherine was going to be, the type of woman that she was, player?
No, I can honestly say, because I've gotten asked this a couple of times, and I never really knew how to answer, and then it hit me one day
Hmm.
when the first description came out about Katheryn. Like, if you see the very first episode, she's got a drink in her hand.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I don't know when we first started, and I'm not going to get into all the details. OWN at the time has certain rules about, using real fur and certain things. They had certain rules in the network when they first started. And I don't know if alcohol was was eliminated because people drank in the show all the time. So,
Mhm.
but when we first got the breakdown, Katheryn was supposed to be like a heavy drinker.
Okay.
And so I did all this input. I used, for all you older people out there, I used Jane Wyman from Falcon Crest kind of as a muse when I
Hmm.
was trying to build this character. And I basically took in the beginning everything that had been put in front of me.
Hmm.
But the beauty of Tyler Perry, he did the same thing with Veronica. He did it with everybody in the show. After that, because the first season was beginning to end with when we first started, the first 9 episodes.
Hmm.
Yeah, the first 9 episodes were written. When the number 9 speech happened,
Hmm.
I didn't get that till 10 o'clock the night before.
Mm.
That had not been written yet.
Mm.
And I am convinced, no, it had been written, but it hadn't edited and stuff like that. I am convinced from that episode on
Hmm.
that Tyler used everything that everybody brought to the table and started refining the characters.
Okay.
He saw how I was moving, and that I think influenced how
Everyone.
he did the 9 speech. And what a lot of people don't know, and you wouldn't know this, and I say this often,
Mhm.
if you work with Tyler Perry, you have to have one eye, but both eyes, and one ear on your partner, on your creative partner, whether that's the bad guy or the good guy. And
Mhm.
you have to have one ear to Tyler, because smack dab in the middle of a scene, he'll add lines.
Mm.
Now, he's not telling you how to say the line,
Right.
he's adding lines, and you've got to go on like it is already in your vernacular. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can throw in a hey or y'all or whatever. Well, when we shot, and so that he knows about as the seasons went along and the episodes went along, he started bringing out what we were giving him glimpses of things he was capitalizing on. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't, for whatever reason, maybe it was her breast cancer episode, ironically, that dropped the drinking and then everything turned to tea. And I got to tell you, Renee Lawless only drinks iced tea. She does not drink iced tea. And Katheryn Cryer lived on hot tea. About drove me
Oh no.
crazy. I was like, can
Did
we have a
you have
Diet
to-
Coke somewhere or a glass of wine or something? But no, everything Katheryn ever drank was hot tea. And I'm like,
Really?
oh, unless I have a sore throat, Mama don't drink no hot tea. Okay. So, but it wasn't a big enough deal for me to argue about.
Right.
But as far as there were some things, I find this very funny, and we're going to segue into. Let me say this other thing first. So,
Mm-hmm.
back to when I did the number 9 speech, I did the whole thing. I had barely had any time to memorize it, and it was everybody at the studio had turned out that day to watch it, and I was like, I barely crammed this 1-page single space speech,
Wow.
And I finished the whole. We did rehearsal. I finished the whole thing, and he goes, "Okay, that's good. Now at this part, I want you to add this," and he has like 5 lines. I'm going,
Okay. You you
you
didn't have to go
want me
back.
to add this? I'm like, okay, I can just do that, And but so in answer to your question,
Mm-hmm.
the input that I gave, there was one time in the first season about her cancer that he
Mm-hmm.
said something about a kappa, and I said, no, I haven't. And I at the time knew really nothing about breast cancer. Ironically, this was,
Mm-hmm.
and I take that back. I had called friends that had breast cancer and asked them questions, but I said, no, she's not in a cap yet. And so it was things like that he would take. Now there was scenes, there were episodes later down the road that I would go, mm-mm. I would go, no, I would just, and all of us at one time did that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
just because we said we disagree doesn't mean he always agreed with us. Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. By the same token, I'll never forget there was one episode, I think it was season 2 or something. Veronica and Angela and I have a scene, and we
Mm-hmm.
had the script in front of us. And we were, we knew the lines and we're doing the scene. It was either me and Andrew or me and Crystal. I don't remember who it was. And
Mm-hmm.
he goes, cut. And he pulls us to the side. Tyler will never, unless it's just like something novel, he's
Mm-hmm.
not going to call you out in front of everybody. He will pull you aside, or you ask to go aside. He will not do that. Very
Mm-hmm.
respectful of his actors, very respectful.
That's good to.
And he pulled us aside. What are y'all doing? And we're like, the scene. And he's like, no, da 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 da. And I'm like, oh, that's not what it says. And he goes, but that's the intent. And I go, okay, thank you for telling us. Because both of us were on the same
We're in a
page.
different, right.
But same words, different intention.
Mm.
But because we've shot so fast, we didn't do table reads.
Mm.
So we didn't have a chance to have gotten that aired out at a table read that normal people do. So that's just normal give and take on any given set. It's not just Tyler Perry. There's just a normal give and take. But I
Right.
genuinely think he saw things in every one of us that he capitalized, and then he pushed us.
Mm.
He really pushed us into sometimes very uncomfortable situations that made us have to dig deep into what. So even though I had created this thing, we say this, it's so cliche, but it was literally peeling back layers of an onion.
Mm.
And season 1, someone asked me about Katheryn, and I said she is like 100-year-old oak tree that is vast and strong on the outside, but hollowing and rotting on the inside.
Wow. That's deep.
And I went and I was going to, when I was in Atlanta, I always go to First Baptist Atlanta. At the time, Charles Stanley was still alive. And if you knew anything about Dr. Stanley, he was a phenomenal photographer.
I didn't know that.
A phenomenal. I have one of his desks, was phenomenal, went all over the world. And he had their Bible bookstore at the church, they had a lot of his photography, like paintings. And he had done one of a huge oak tree. And I had that hanging in my dressing room.
Really?
And whenever I looked at that was Katheryn.
Wow.
And it was just something, it was only for me. It wasn't for anybody else. It was just for me. And ironically, some of that changed as the season went on. And I think you talk about the misunderstanding of Katheryn. A lot of people, when they first saw her, thought she was this mean, horrible ogre. But then as the seasons went on, they were all championing her and on her side, because it's kind of like you were dropped into the middle of a life without the history. And then you saw, like, she's got a low down, dirty dog husband. She's got, a self-absorbed son.
Yes.
And she's trying to keep it all together. Said they're all wondering why I hadn't divorced the man and killed the kid, or vice versa.
Absolutely.
It's just, so there was a much deeper understanding. And I also think when he first wrote Veronica, she was never supposed to turn into a villain. And then she was just so good at it.
She was good at it.
And I got to tell you, Angela Robinson is not that person.
It's so funny because
it's not that person.
From what I see of her, she is such a gentle, genteel person, like so different from that character.
She's just like the Dolly Lois. She's just not that person.
And what's funny is that you two have a friendship, that has lasted long before the show. And what is it that brought you two to become friends like that?
We were ships that passed in the night. I had been a former Miss Jacksonville back in the 1900s. And it sounds so long ago. And several years later, after, I don't know if I was not in Jacksonville anymore. I could have either been when I was in Orlando or I had already moved to New York. But several years later, Angela entered the pageant. And at the time, my mother was helping with the Miss Jacksonville pageant. And she would go on and on about Angela Robinson. And then everybody who knew Angela would go on and on about Renee Lawless. But we never met. She went on to get second or third runner-up in the Miss Florida pageant, did very well. And then she decided to go fulfill her dream and go to the big city. She went to New York before me, and she studied there and then started performing and had done many shows. And we were like I said, ships that passed in the night. And I do not know there was one time I was doing a show at a regional theater in Jersey, and she was getting ready to do Dreamgirls there. So they were coming, the cast of that Dreamgirls cast was coming to see our show. And we were in the band together. I'm not going to go into all the details of why that is. That's immaterial. And I'm sitting, and we started playing catch up, like da 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 da. And then after that, her life went her way. She was very simple. My life went my way. And we would ever so often over the years pass on the streets of New York, but that was it. So long story short, too late. I'm in the dressing room the week before production. Now, I had read with 50 million women for the role of Veronica. I had read with a bunch of people, and Angela was nowhere in sight. But I had read with everybody else that I had seen. So I'm in the dressing room. And I finally I was getting ready to leave, and I looked at the costumer, and I said, by the way, who got Veronica? And she goes, oh, I think it's somebody from Jacksonville,
Wow.
Robinson. And I went, Angela Robinson?
Really?
And I sat in the middle of the floor and almost started crying.
Oh, That's
I
that's
sat
amazing.
down, and the minute we saw each other, you would have thought we had been best friends for 100 years, that had been us apart, and we were
Oh,
instantaneously friends. Same
mm,
thing with Crystal Fox,
mhm.
instantaneously friends,
That's wonderful.
instantaneously. And it has lasted. She is my confidant. I
Mhm.
call her at all hours, vice versa. When they were trying to have a child, the whole shamil, everything about her life. And I was just on the phone with her a few weeks ago, not even like a week ago,
Mhm.
and we're either texting or whatever. And people asked us about the knife scene, and
Mm.
I do that then, like the psycho knife scene. And people go, "How is that?" And I said, we did have some stunt people, but for the most part, she and I were did a lot of rolling on the floor. There wasn't a whole lot of stunt action in that. And we were doing this one where we're living on the floor, and I'm above her with the knife. And Tyler said, "Cut, we got to set the cameras up differently." So we're sitting there going, "So where are we going to go to lunch?"
Mhm.
And 1 minute I've got a knife over her head, and the next minute I'm going, "Are you going to eat at craft services, or are we going to order in?" I mean, literally. And then, okay, action. You low down.
I love it, but that had to make for, like, such amazing chemistry, and, from what you said, like, Tyler gives you, he gives you the script, he throws things at you, and he has to rely on you being in character, but then you two coming together, or
Right.
you three, whomever is in the scene, coming together and being able to pull it off realistically. And you guys did that thing.
Thank you. But
For you
there are
ladies.
times that we had to be, we knew the other had a strong emotional scene, and you
Uh-huh.
don't, and actors just know you don't bother the other person. When it's
Okay.
something, when you've been on our show as long, we knew the characters well enough that
Mhm.
it was like a soap, so we didn't have to like study, oh, where's my motivation for this? We already knew the motivation. But if it was
Gotcha.
an intense emotional scene, there was a lot of prep that had to go into that. And we just as actors know you leave people alone. It didn't matter who
Mhm.
it was, on the set. So you know, we might have had those moments, but for the most part, we stuck to what was our job.
Mhm. And I'm sure that was easy because you have a very rich background. I mean, most people, they immediately recognize you as Katheryn Cryer, but you've been around. You've worked, as you said, in New York. You worked on Broadway.
Yes, I was in Broadway's national tour of Beauty and the Beast, and then I went on to
Oh,
Broadway with Beauty and the Beast.
I love it.
And just before 9/11, and I was just like a vacation queen. And then several years later went by, and I did 5 years on the road with the Broadway show Wicked.
Okay.
And it was during Wicked. I was getting ready to leave Wicked. I was getting ready to turn in my notice. And just before that, I had the opportunity to audition for Have and Have Not. So it just literally parlayed into one thing after.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And so, out of all of the work that you've done, what has been your most um, prized, body of work in your opinion? Like, what character or what job was it that really is most memorable? And I guess your favorite.
Well, I mean, I honestly can say stage will always and forever be my first love. That I
Mhm.
mean, that doesn't mean I don't want to be in a TV series or a movie or something like that. It's the magnification of your work and the accolade of your work is a far more reaching audience, and so you can't deny that. However, the stage will always be my first love. So if I have to say what I'm the most proud of, there are moments because we shot so fast on Have and Have Nots. There were some things I go, oh, I wish I could have done that again. You know what I mean? But there were moments in Halves that I will always treasure for
Mhm.
some reasons that the audience would never know. It was a behind the scene thing that happened that got created that I'm most proud of as an artist.
Mhm.
Now, my favorite shows going on as Madame Morble in Wicked was heaven,
Mm.
heaven. My One of my most prized there's two shows that I prize, and one of them I did Patsy Cline and Always Patsy Cline, and sadly I only got the opportunity to do that once.
Okay.
And it was still when that show was in its infancy, and now I've kind of aged out of it. I'm more the right character for the other person in the show.
Okay.
But that was a very, very, very demanding role. And I happened to be in a great company with great costumes. It was just a dream. It was really a prize moment, and my parents got to see it and enjoy it. And then there was a show called Tintypes that I did 100 years ago. I had the chance to do it 3 different times with 3 different companies. But the first one will always be the most memorable.
Wonderful.
They were the ones that did it right. And, doing a play or doing a TV show, and I'm also a designer and decorator and Holly person, doing all that stuff, you put so much of your heart and soul into it. It's like having children. Well, do we have a favorite child? If you're a parent and you have more than one, yeah, on any given day, one child's going to favor the other, but you still love both your children.
Yes.
So for me to sit there and say, even the smallest, most insignificant thing I've ever done, it would be easier to ask me, what thing am I not proud of? And then I would have to really go through my entire litany of everything I've ever performed in, from a stupid independent or a small independent. What have I not enjoyed? And if I've not enjoyed it, it's been because of somebody else.
Okay.
And there was something that I did that I enjoyed, but there was someone behind the scenes that took a lot of that joy out. And I had to kind of have a little explosion.
Oh, okay. A little explosion.
And I can honestly, and I was more upset over that explosion than anyone. I literally exploded and then had a complete meltdown crying because I walked around the whole set. Everybody was on my side. Everybody was like, we don't understand how you kept it together for so long. And it wasn't the director. Mind you, it was not the director. But I cried because that is not me. I'm a professional, but it was kind of like you hit the last nerve at the wrong time, and I just exploded. And then after that, everything was fine. And but here again, because even that experience was a prized experience to me. I have to honestly tell you, some of my favorite work has been an audition for something I never got. That just happened in the fall. I had 2 callbacks for a play. I always just knew I was going to get it. And I worked my and I loved my audition. My manager goes, "You're going to get this." Everybody loved it. And I didn't get it. And I was more devastated at not getting something. It wasn't even the show. It wasn't like a big thing. It wasn't, So an actor who, and they're given a lot of bad auditions, but we put so much into our work. It's like giving a body part away. And so what body part can you do without?
Really none. I mean, you can live, but
yeah, it's, we don't need the appendix. We don't know why it's there, but I've never sacrificed my appendix. I have sacrificed something that I need. I've given part of something of myself into everything I have done. I have dropped cell residue, and so, yeah, I can't really.
Okay. Can't really say, but I can relate to what you were saying just on my little small level, just doing some commercial work. And auditioning, and you just I'm like, I killed that. It was, and you look at the casting directors, And sometimes it's hard to really read them. But
Mm-hmm.
there were times when you know you're spot on, and then you just come and nothing, and you just like, dang. And I felt like we talked about this earlier. Um, there have been auditions where I just thought I was terrible. And I even called my agent and said, I'm sorry. One time I actually called and said, could you call them and ask them if I can come in and do it again? Because now, like, I know what it is that they needed. And she was like, Nina, she was like, what are you talking about? They loved you.
Right.
and,
Oh, I know.
and
You give the Academy Award performance in the car on the way home from the audition. You're accepting your award.
right.
And you're exactly right. You're exactly right. You're exactly
But,
right.
hey, that's the way they go. So I've learned to
Well,
audition.
the movie La La Land really, I didn't think that was the greatest movie in the world, but
Okay.
have you seen the movie La La Land?
A little bit.
Okay.
Haven't
There's a
watched it all
scene in there where Emma Stone is at an audition.
Uh-huh.
And on the way to the audition, she works at a coffee shop. She's
Okay.
supposed to wear this white blouse, something. Someone runs into her, she spills stuff all over it. So she grabs a park and puts it on. And you can tell in the audition that the camera's right on her. She's on a phone call and she's given it. I mean, it was a moment. She is in it to win it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see behind her, there's a door with a glass, like a glass that someone can look in.
Mm-hmm.
And evidently somebody's just talking to the casting directors behind her going, do you want this? So Emma Stone has no idea what's going on behind her, but I guarantee you she sees the people in front of her talking to that person. That is the most realistic thing in the world.
Really?
I saw that one scene and I went, and that's an audition, ladies and gentlemen. That is an audition.
Wow.
And people have no idea.
That's true.
And now, I mean, I haven't been live in front of a casting director
Since COVID?
Since COVID.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have not been live. Everything's a tape. And what the people, and so you don't get that feedback from the casting director unless you get a Zoom audition. I take that back. I've had some Zoom auditions with a casting director.
Mm-hmm.
But like today, this is an audition. Let's say I was giving an audition for this today. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting here and I have this is my computer, but imagine I'm sitting in front of it'd be my phone, my camera, or some people have regular cameras. I have my phone, it's fine. Mm-hmm. And I have box lighting. I have this light. I have other lights I use for different things. So I have now become the talent, the lighting director, the sound director, the set decorator. And when it's all over, I become the editor.
That part.
And then I become the person that sends it off. Everybody in my business is doing that now. We do not get paid for any of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if it's a good or, how do you feel about that?
Well, I try to send 1 or 2 takes if I can.
Okay.
Unless I just feel like this is it. But it's very frustrating because if I was live in an audition, I would be given an adjustment. And even that thing I told you about that I auditioned for, I did have a callback on a Zoom. Uh-huh. And they had no, that's another thing. They had no notes for me. Then I get the second callback, no notes. I did one thing. He goes, okay, do it again and do this. And after that was over, I kind of wish I had stopped and had him explain it more. But you give me no notes and then I don't get it.
Right.
You didn't even ask me. So, but that's the struggle with self-tapes. You put it out there on a wing and a prayer that you're doing, and you never want to audition with what you think they want. You want to audition for what your interpretation is, but it may not be theirs. Right. And sometimes it works in your favor. You bring to the table what they didn't expect, and they go, hey, I like that. But that's not what they were expecting. And then sometimes I'm one of the other 25 people that have given the exact same performance. And you can't guess that. And so in that respect, it gets very frustrating. But
Right.
I did an audition on Monday and I, oh, and here again, it's been slow. So I was grateful for anything. And it's like a horror alien kind of flick.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I'm the one who always wanted to be a Klingon. I'm a Trekkie. So I've always wanted to be an alien. So I was like, oh, yes, I'm doing this audition, you know. And the beginning, she's this normal person. And then she gets attacked. And then this alien. And then and I had to do this whole thing. No dialogue. Like I'm
Mhm.
completely this alien, you know. Try to do it and not laugh at yourself. And I
Mhm.
thought, I don't care. I am not sitting here studying Shakespeare, studying this like I'm studying a Shakespeare play. I'm not going to do it. And I'll probably book this job because I couldn't see it. It's just, oh my goodness. I play it back and laugh. I cannot stop laughing. But you have to think about it. I just pick any, okay, Frankenstein, the
Right.
original. Pick any old horror movie. Take all the music out of it, take the costumes out of it, take the makeup out of it, and imagine that person doing that in an audition.
Is that it?
How do you make it with a straight face?
That's true. That's true. What was well, I don't know
Like
if you
Bela
want to tell me
Lugosi,
that.
the mummy.
Well, I would love to see you in that role. That's different.
If I get it, that will be a public announcement. I can honestly assure you.
Well, it's amazing how many roles when you think about like life, right?
Right.
How many different roles and how we have to adapt,
Exactly.
obviously.
Exactly.
And as women, we know how to adapt. We're good at it. A lot of times we have no choice. But that, as you're talking, and I'm just thinking about, how you bring such truth and honesty, to me, to
Thank
everything,
you.
even
Thank
our
you.
conversations.
Thank you.
And that's one of the things that I love so much about you. And I'm just thinking about everything that we talked about. We talked about, your bringing such strength to the character, Katheryn Cryer, and with your family, having to take on certain things, now that people,
Mhm.
your parents have passed on, and you're just making sure that everything is taken care of. And then you had a different journey, which I'd love for us to be able to touch on. And it's
Yes.
just so interesting. So you played in your character at some point. You had to delve into this, right? And could
Season
not.
1 of Have and Have Nots, Katheryn had breast cancer.
Right, right.
I
And
called everybody. I knew nothing.
mm,
And I've never smoked pot. So I knew
mhm,
nothing about that and still
okay.
haven't, by the way. I don't smoke pot. But just FYI.
Well, it's okay to get
Tried
it.
the gummies, but during chemo, but that was a different story. But
Right.
so then, as a matter of fact, I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2021, zero family history. By the way, only 14% of women with breast cancer have a family history, something that we as women are not led to believe. And I'm sorry about the plane. I live near an airport.
Okay. Mhm.
I don't even hear it, but I'm realizing, oh my gosh, they're probably hearing this plane
I
going
get it,
over.
I get it. I wasn't sure.
It's just it's background noise to me. I don't even hear it. Um, over. So right after I was diagnosed, I texted. That's not a word. I text Mr. Perry, and I
Mhm.
said, I don't know if you've heard by now, but I did. And I said, funny how life has imitated art.
How
And
about
he
that?
gave me a very sweet text back. I hope I hope you do well, and wish me best wishes and all that kind of stuff. Fortunately, or unfortunately, I do not know how one says that, but I had enough women in my life that I knew that had been through the journey
Mhm.
and was able to ask. That's how I found out about cold capping, which we'll get into in a minute. But I
Mhm.
was able to ask questions about from diagnosis to
Mhm.
treatment to the decisions that they had made. Now, everybody was in unison on certain decisions except a few people, and I chose to make the decisions myself on certain things. And then even after I started treatment, people felt the need to start sending me all this information about alternatives, and I'm like, guys, the
Mm-hmm.
deal's done. I've
Mm-hmm.
already made a decision that this is the particular treatment I'm going to do. I'm not changing it. I'm not doing this is what is best for me.
Mm-hmm.
um, I will say, I tell people all the time, they go, how was your reaction? And I said, well, I was still in California, which they still think it's COVID. And they was definitely still in that COVID mentality. So had a virtual doctor's appointment with
Mm-hmm.
my GP, and no one had reached out to me. And my general practitioner was furious, but I had a virtual appointment. I am sitting in my car in a McDonald's parking lot with my cell phone, having a virtual appointment with my doctor, and he's going, they haven't called you yet? And I'm like, no. And he was livid, and he goes, it's cancer. So I found out cancer. Found out I had cancer in a McDonald's parking lot. And I got to tell you, not a tear was shed. I can't explain it. I text my best friend. She gets on the phone. She's like freaking out. And then, we did what you're supposed to do. You make the appointment with the oncologist, yada, yada, yada. I watched videos. I was still in early stage. I go into the appointment. They think all I had to do was a lumpectomy, just 12 rounds, call it a day. Then they did an MRI. They said, no, it's going to be every 3 weeks now, more intensive. And after that appointment, I was fine. I didn't know about cold caps at the time, but I'd had a dear friend who had won them. And I even had friends who knew Beyonce's wig person. So I was all ready to call, Beyonce's wig person and get them because, and so I didn't really say much. I don't know if it was, I never saw it as a death sentence, I guess. My mother was a nurse.
Okay.
And I grew up in a family where it's just not. My mother died of melanoma of someone who never, ever got in the sun.
Wow.
And my dad, had prostate cancer, but that's not what killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my best friend to ovarian. But I just never, like I said, I just never thought. I thought this is just a short time. I have there was always going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. That was through the whole journey. And I said to my girlfriend, I said, maybe I'll lose weight. And she started laughing. She goes, I've been sitting here counting the minutes, how long it was going to take for you to say you're probably going to lose weight.
Oh my goodness.
She said, everybody else is worrying if they're going to die. And all you're thinking about is you're going to lose weight. And I didn't. I gained. And then I found out about cold capping, which is a way of me to preserve my hair.
Okay.
And I genuinely, 100% is God is my witness. Because as Katheryn Cryer and in life and in my life, I had been known for my hair. And I had to tell people constantly I never was wearing wigs because I never did. Mm. I was genuinely more upset at losing my hair than I was my diagnosis.
Well, can I say before you go into that part, I know a lot of women share that, oh my goodness, my hair. But can we just kind of back up just for
Let's
one
back
second?
up. Let's back up. Exactly.
When you did anything switch like as soon as you heard that diagnosis? Like was there a moment when you even thought, okay, like God, why me? Or how did this happen? Or was there none of that kind of like self-reflection, like none of that? You just went straight into,
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I haven't told this to anybody. Did I tell my friend, a girlfriend? I might have told this to one person. I don't even remember who I told. When I tell you I was so it was like okay, are you there, Nina?
I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
I'm
here.
sorry. All of a sudden I came full screen.
So you
Um,
are.
all of a sudden I went full screen and you went away.
Sorry.
So it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I want to
Um,
get
let me tell you something about me
mhm.
in general. I will cry and get upset over the small stuff. I will lose my mind if I misplace something. If I get a flat tire. I mean, in other words, I sweat the small stuff big time.
Mhm.
I never sweat the big stuff
Mm.
because the small stuff I can control.
Mm.
The big stuff I can't.
That's interesting.
And I've always been that person.
Hmm.
And so maybe because the only thing that switched in me was, well, everything right now is coming to a halt.
Mm.
I even called my agent and I said, I can do auditions, but only in certain amount of weeks. I thought I could go on. And midway through, I was like, oh. But I knew, I wish my mom had been alive,
Mhm.
but I knew I had to change everything going forward. I immediately got online and started researching, clothes to wear during chemo and all that. But I thought, well, I just started recouping after COVID, and now we got to turn all back around and stop again. And I also had made the decision that we were not going to go public with it
Okay.
because my casting director and my manager didn't know how. I'm a casting director. My agent and my manager didn't know how casting and offices would take that.
Right.
Oh, she's sick. We're not going to hire her.
Right.
So I didn't go. I didn't really have auditions, but so the only thing that shifted was it was a focus.
Mm.
Okay, I have a road to toe. I saw a beginning, I saw a middle, and I saw an end. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I did not have breast cancer. So I tried to live my life as if this was just something that I had to take medicine for. And when the medicine was done, I will be fine, like the common cold.
Okay.
And at the end of that, at the time, I hadn't made the decision about a double mastectomy. In the middle of it, I was like, oh, hell yes, we're getting rid of these girls. I ain't going to this ever again.
I know that's
Never. Honey, I cut them things off so fast. And then when they gave me and I didn't want to go through radiation, so I didn't want implants, although that would have been gross. But they wanted to take my stomach fat. I'm like, hallelujah, something to do with my belly fat. So, honey, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but honey, I came out looking better than I went in. I got a boob job and a tummy tuck on my insurance, and I didn't have boobs like that since I was 25. And I was like, this is a win-win for me.
a good thing. That's really positive for a lot of women.
Now, did I enjoy the journey? No.
Yeah.
There was one point I was living alone that I did have to ask for help.
Okay.
And when I ended up in the ER, I put down and she says, you have to ask for help. And people at my church majorly stepped up.
Wonderful.
But I never got a woe is me why. And this is what I said earlier that I never told anybody this. I remember a day, probably several years before this happened. It might have been, this happened in 21. It might have happened in 18 or 19.
Okay.
I was driving down the 101 and I thought, you know what, Renee? Because I kept thinking about things that made me who I am. Like I championed, I was bullied in high school and things that made me the way I am and stuff like that. And I thought, other than this incident in high school, and I think I was looking at it in a form of testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you've been very blessed. You've never had an illness. You've got all your limbs. You've never had a life-threatening anything. You've never been in a bad car accident. You've never had a come to Jesus moment. You've never had any of this. I don't have this, and the Lord did whatever. So there's a part of me, there was always a part of me that wondered if I brought it on myself.
Hmm.
Did I ask for a cancer diagnosis? No. But there was always a part of me that wondered, be careful what you think about or what you wish for, or
Mhm.
because I don't ever remember thinking about it again.
Hmm.
It was just a fleeting moment. But I'm sure we all have a fleeting moment about something like
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
And so would I wish my journey on anyone? No. Am I grateful for the journey? Yes. I got to honestly tell you, I have to say this. People, I think you say, has anything about whatever made you the woman? I said, every bad thing that ever happened to me in my life has made me who I am today.
Hmm.
Yes, good things are great. Good things are wonderful. But it's the bad things that you learn the lessons from.
Absolutely. And they help you to know who you really are and
Exactly.
just how strong you are.
Hmm.
Because as they say, it's not in the good moments that your true character, your true strength comes out. It's in the adversity.
It's in the
It's
valley. It's
yeah,
in the
it's
valleys. It's in the valleys.
and I have to say that I remember when you came in and you first told me
Oh,
that
you were so wonderful to me. I wanted, but you put pin in that. I have to tell everybody this woman gave me gift bags and care packages. Oh, okay, so go ahead. Anyway, you were because honey, I was going through. Go ahead.
listen, I had to, but like when you first shared that with me, you were so strong, and I do remember you saying, "Okay, well, we're not talking about this in public right now," but you had something that you had to do. I can't remember like what kind of audition or job or something, and
Oh,
I
I
remember,
made 2 national appearances on television.
yeah,
After
yes,
my first chemo, I had to be on the Tamron Hall show on a Zoom. All of us, I was
wow,
on a Zoom, full hair, not throwing up, deathly sick the next day.
wow,
And then we did the reunion special for Have and Have Nots after I had been in the ER, and I had my hair. I'm on tip. I told everybody we're not talking about this on air. And I did the whole show, and nobody in that audience and nobody in the television audience knew I was going through cancer. We
yeah.
taped on them. I flew in on a Sunday. We taped on Monday. I flew back on Tuesday, and I was in the chemo chair on Wednesday.
Wow. Wow. See, that's what I mean because I think when I would see you, nobody would be able to tell that you were going through that. So, that strength to me is phenomenal. And I do remember we would talk about like skincare, and you were like, "Girl, my skin is just blotchy and it's dry, and I can't be showing up like this." And I remember you were like, "I need something. Give me something."
I got to tell you, and what I didn't know then, but I know now because it came back about 2 years ago with a vengeance.
Mhm.
What's it brought out
Exit
evidently a very deep seated rosacea. And
rosacea.
that's what was happening. I didn't know it. I know it now. I didn't know
Mhm,
it then.
mhm,
And it came, and then remember, it would go away. So it'd be
mhm.
hardcore for a week, and then it'd go away. And then it left completely. It didn't have it. Well, it hit me again about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I've been dealing with it. And I finally saw somebody, and I totally changed my skincare to a
Okay.
much milder, something over the counter. I got rid of all my high expensive, highfalutin skincare. And now it's, I'm like, okay, why did I spend all that daggone money?
Well, it wasn't a
However,
bad product,
however,
but
however, I had to make these national TV appearances, and I told you I cannot do this. And I had sworn, as God is my witness, I was not going to spend the money on that La Prairie Foundation. I said, ain't nobody gonna spend that kind of money. There's no kind of way that thing, honey, that thing saves my life. I still have bottles in my dresser right now. I'm wearing it right now. I'm here to tell you, when I have to make a major appearance, that goes on my face.
And I
And
love
I
that.
can't believe I spent that money, but I still spend the money because when push comes to shove, it is what got me through.
Yes. And you know what it's all about? I always say it's an investment that you will be happy about or
And I
happy.
did. I swore up and said, remember, I said,
I
hell to
remember
freeze
you
over
were
before I
like,
buy this product. And then I come to you in the middle of it and I'm going, I don't care what it is. Give me something. Give me something. Give me something.
yes, yes. And so much more than just the makeup
And I'm
itself.
not getting paid by La Prairie, by the way, to say that. So if anyone's listening and wants to write me a check,
Right, right. Or just kind of drop a little bit of that in your bag.
exactly, exactly. Okay.
But I do say that, for me, it was so satisfying to be able to help
Oh,
you
you did.
find some kind of peace and comfort
Mhm.
in a time like that because
Greatly
for
appreciated.
women, absolutely. I mean, I just look at women because that's what I do every day, all day.
Mm-hmm.
People come and they ask for something to help them. And for me, if I can introduce you to something, or if I could just send something your way that makes you feel good, you got to be able to feel good. And when you're dealing with breast cancer and you're dealing with everything else that you're dealing with in life,
Mm-hmm.
the least that I could do or that anyone can do to help a woman is to help her to be able to look good, or at least look as good as she can possibly look. And
Mm-hmm.
that's going to help you also feel a little bit better because there's just one less thing that you have to worry about. And I do, remember, see, I didn't know anything about your hair treatments, but talking with you the other day, I was like, we have to talk about this because this was a treatment that you obviously found that worked. And then you realize the value to be able to help someone else. So, like I help, I could come to you and say, okay, look, try this. And you're like, girl, that was a lifesaver. And now here you are in this same space being able to help
Mm-hmm.
women. And it just means the world. And, I went through that like with my mom.
Yes,
And
you did.
so we didn't even talk about
Mm-hmm.
it, a cold capping or anything like that.
Well, I
She
got to tell you, I tell my sisters,
Mhm.
y'all got the best wigs. Don't spend the money. I spend the money on a nice lace front. Call it a day. But see, the thing about my sisters,
Uh-huh.
y'all can have short hair one day, long
Uh-huh.
hair the next day, blonde
Yes.
hair on Friday, and
Uh-huh.
purple hair on Saturday, and nobody looks twice at you.
Right.
The
Because
white, the
it's
white lady, see, if I came in one day with short hair, and the next day with long hair, and the next day with blonde, they're gonna say, "What are you doing?" They
but
don't
the
say
but you
that to the sisters.
right. But you know what sometimes people don't realize is that sometimes they look and you say, "Did you cut your hair?" And you may not have cut your hair. You might have just took a couple of little
Right,
little
right,
false
right,
snippets
right,
out.
right.
You
They
know.
said, "Girl, this is cornrow." I said, "That's cornrow."
But I mean, that's the beauty of being a Black woman. But there are so many things that are available to all women now, which is so great. And it's wonderful that you're able to be there to help women understand what is available for them, to actually help them go through the process
Yeah.
and to be able to provide the treatment. So you really have to tell me about that because I knew Kimberly Douglas. That's the
Right.
only
She's the one that told me about it. It
yes,
was Kim
okay,
Douglas that told me about it.
right.
Exactly.
So I knew that she did, and I just remembered that she was able to keep going because she's on television. She's,
Hmm. Hmm.
doing things and she did not want to go through that whole process in public. So tell me, what was that conversation like, with you guys? And then how did you get to using cold
Okay.
capping?
Well, I've got it pulled up a picture. I hope it doesn't go away, even though I'm in a mask, of what it looks like in a minute. I can show people what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Um, I had just remember I said earlier I called a number of people and I knew she had just gone through this. And I
Yes.
also know I was watching her hair and I
Mm,
knew that I knew she was wearing a partial, but and she was still I could see pictures of her with her and I'm like, she still has her hair. That's not all a wig.
mhm.
So I called her a lot to get also information early on about did she do a mastectomy? Did she do implant? Well, that kind of stuff. There's so many options, and I wanted to talk to her about it. Well,
Right.
she immediately told me about the cold caps, and that she goes, "Wow, your hair does shed." She goes, "I'm on television every day. I wasn't going to come on with a blatant wig, and I'm not, what's her name, Robin from Good Morning America.
Mhm.
I'm talking about.
Girl,
She
I think
looked fantastic bald. Well,
right.
not everybody does, and and I immediately jumped on it. And I tell you, talking about my hair, it's not cheap, although there are different ways of doing it in cheaper ways. There's the most expensive and the cheaper way, but
Mhm.
I didn't care. I would have had a GoFundMe. I would have taken out a second mortgage to save my hair.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to learn all about it. And just so you know, while I tell you about it, if anyone can, that's not pretty. Can everybody see that?
Mhm.
I don't
I
want to
see
give anything away on here.
it.
Can everybody see that? And I
Okay.
probably should have brought a cap with me. It's in the other room. I could have shown you.
Okay.
But cold capping is basically exactly what it sounds like. There are
Mhm.
these flat caps that are stored in dry ice and they get molded to your head and they're strapped on and you wear them 1 hour, 50 minutes to 1 hour before the first chemo drop, all during chemo, and depending on your regime, anywhere from 4 to 5.5 or 6 hours afterwards. They
Mhm.
get changed every 25 minutes during that entire process.
Every 20 to 25
Every
minutes?
every 25 minutes. Now, they're negative 28 degrees to negative 32 degrees centigrade. That is very cold. That's all
Mm.
I'm going to say. And I can show you another picture of what my prep looked like because, yes, there is a prep underneath.
Okay.
Okay. It's a little bit simpler than that now. And I can wear earmuffs. You can wear earmuffs, and I don't need this under, but it's basically you wear mini pads all along your head because you don't want your skin to burn from the cold.
Okay.
And this
Wow.
cap is molded. And what it does, it freezes your hair follicles so that the chemo can't get to it. And the reason why you wear it for so long after, the chemo is still going through your system, it's still working.
Mhm.
Now, did I shed? Yes. Did I notice a little bit of hair loss? Yes. Nobody else did. You saw me. You didn't
Mhm.
think I'd lost any hair. No one did. I noticed a difference, but nobody else did. Um, there are other companies out there, which I will not say their names. They're usually machines that are now in some hospitals because it's a way for the hospitals to make money that aren't even. If people want to research it, I'm proud to announce I use Penguin cold caps. I think they're the
Penguin?
ones that invented the process. They've done the research on all the medicine
Okay.
and they've done that. It worked 100% for me. I've just celebrated 4.5 years since diagnosis. In August will be 5 years cancer free.
Amen. Thank you,
And
Jesus.
trust me, nobody goes back to this in 5 years.
I was gonna say
So,
even
and
thicker than
it
before.
it does come back thicker. It
Gee.
absolutely does come
Wow.
back thicker. Now,
Wow.
so I should have done this in California. I don't know why I didn't before I left California, but when I got back to Florida, I uh, I had a number of friends going through this, and I would always recommend it. And I thought, I could be a capping partner. It's just part time. It's not a big thing if I'm not performing and I'm not doing something. So I reached out to Capping Partners of America. That's the company I work for. I do not work for Penguin, although we use exclusively Penguin, but I work for Capping Partners of America. And the first year, because I was trying to go around and tell people about it, didn't really have anybody. But this year, I've been working pretty steadily. I mean, that's good and bad. It's good that I'm working. It's bad that people are getting cancer.
Yeah.
And I often tell people, and I remember I was very blessed. my because I was doing this during the COVID years, I wasn't allowed to bring anybody to chemo with me to my infusion unless
Oh,
I had a cold capper. So I paid for a cold capper for the first session, and my best friend came down, videoed, did everything, and got trained on it. And she did all of my other treatments. And that is a much more economical way to do it. If you could have a friend or a family member do it instead of hiring a capper.
okay.
But she will tell you, because she knew how much the fee was, and she goes, and it's still not enough after she did it. And I try to tell people, it's a very hard, easy job.
Hmm. Already.
Because for the person wearing it,
Yeah.
the hardest thing is putting on a cold cap. But after the first one, your head's numb, you don't feel it. You just get disturbed every 25 minutes because you're on Benadryl and you're half out of it. So you have to go through it every 20 minutes. But that's all the patient has to do.
Okay.
The capper, because they are stored in dry ice in layers. And I'm going to do what I tell you what I do now. I had a 4-cap rotation with blocks, and now I use pellets. But anyway, the caps are stored in a cooler with dry ice, about 60 pounds of dry ice, caps and straps. And so you put one on, then you have to rotate the other two. So you take the one off, that goes to the bottom one, and everything comes brown again.
Okay.
And you do that after every single time.
Wow.
And then you have to check that cap 2 to 3 to 4 minutes before the new one goes on to make sure it's the right temperature. If it's too cold, you got to warm it up, whether you rub it on your body or rub it with your hands, or something, because it's dry ice. You got to be careful. Or it's not cold enough. You got to put more dry ice on it. So it's work. So the person doing the capping, it's a lot of physical all day long. I have the one client I had yesterday, I was with her from 10:15 to 6 o'clock. So that's a normal. For her, it's anywhere from a 6, 7, 8-hour day.
So it's because you're with her earlier, chemo.
I had to be there early I had to pack the caps an hour before they're worn, but then I show up with her at her infusion. She is one of the few patients I have that she's not in that chair maybe 30 minutes before I have to start a cap with her.
Okay.
Usually I just kind of sit around for like 2 hours, and I will adjust that time for others. Now I have another patient that I'm with for 13 hours.
Wow.
Now, out of that 13 hours, I'm probably changing caps for 11 and a half to 12 hours.
Wow.
And
wow.
When I tell you, I am physically exhausted.
Wow.
Totally exhausted.
But who better than you to really understand what this is about and why this is so important and why it just has to be done.
Right. And they ask me questions. They ask about my treatments. They ask about hair loss. They ask about how I took care of my hair. There's also a regime. You can't blow dry your hair or do anything like that the whole time you're going through this process for the whole 6, 9, 12 weeks, 20 weeks, however many. You have to wash your hair in cold water. You have to use a sulfate, phosphate-free shampoo. No pulling your hair back tight ever, maybe just something light. Now, I would put a headband on occasionally, and so I lost a little bit around here. There's a definite hair care, no coloring of your hair, but absolutely zero blow drying. Now, I had 2 TV appearances, so I wore hot rollers. I was like, I'll suffer. Now, did that increase shedding? Yes, but I knew that. But imagine you got to go out in public for 12 to 20 weeks with, I didn't look like that for a long time, and here again. So, and so they're able to ask me these questions. They're able to say, what kind of treatment were you on? And I've got, what medicines were you HER2 positive? Were you HER2 negative? Now, this is not just breast cancer patients. I'm dealing with ovarian patients. I'm dealing with perinatal patients. I had a man, I know, wait for it, had one of those very, 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 very rare ones where they pulled the stem cells out and all this kind of stuff. But he was an older man, but had a head of hair.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, you're a man, nobody cares. But he did, you know.
Of course.
And it was a one treatment, but it was literally like getting 10 chemos in one day.
Wow.
And he didn't lose a bit of hair. And the
That's
only reason he was allowed to do it is because the tumors hadn't gotten to his brain yet. But even his doctor said it's not going to work on you. And he didn't lose any hair.
wow.
And
That's
so many doctors don't even believe in it. And you walk in and I'm going, well, what is not to believe?
right. But wasn't there a point when insurance companies they were not paying for this, and now
They're still not. Some of them, you can submit something and you'll get a little bit, I think. But for
okay,
the most part, a lot of insurance
it's out
companies
of
do not.
pocket. Wow. And then so now that takes a lot of people out of the game because
Mm-hmm.
with the chemo treatments and everything that costs. My mother was smart in that, well, she had ovarian cancer, but she had Affleck and she had a policy for cancer. And it could be because maybe years ago she had cervical cancer. And so
Mm-hmm.
maybe she just realized I need to get this extra protection just in case. And thank God it was there because I remember sitting with her and going through the billing and having to send this to Aflac and then send it to her other insurance company. And it's a lot. It is so much. So thank God
I
for someone like you who can be there to support them in different ways.
Mhm.
You know?
It's really infuriating to me, and I'm not going to get on a political soapbox. I'm going to be
Right.
very careful with my words right now.
Mhm.
But it's infuriating to me how much we as a country, and it does not matter what party's in power, this has nothing to do with political power, will pay for X, this, and this. And
Mhm.
then what we don't pay for, when I say we, insurance companies in general. But
Mhm.
to me, I'm very pro free enterprise. We live in a country where everything shouldn't be regulated.
Right.
However, and I'm not talking about state funded healthcare. I'm not talking about that.
Mhm.
And fortunately, a lot of insurance will cover. I had very good insurance at the time.
Mhm.
And I do now because I'm officially on Medicare. Love it. Anyway, um,
Earned
but
it.
earned it, of course. But yeah, like praise, I want to frame my card anyway. But I was on very good insurance, but I still had, some copays.
Right.
But even people with, still have sometimes a very large deductible.
Mm.
Cancer is not cheap. I looked at what the billing would have been, and I'm like, Jeff Bezos couldn't have paid this. And or Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk would be the only two people on the planet, or Shah Khan, that could pay for
Yeah.
this. You're talking. It came out. I figured it out to almost $500,000 to $600,000 per treatment.
Per drip. I remember that.
Now I ask you, what drug on what universe should cost that much?
It
It's
shouldn't
just,
make a
and this is universal. Cancer is not cheap anywhere, but it's just, I don't understand the uh to me that should be the okay, we've got you covered in cancer treatment.
right.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bottom line. Okay, you got to pay for your kidney
Yeah.
operation, you got to pay for your gallbladder, but we'll take care of you on cancer. That
Right.
doesn't mean you don't pay something,
Right.
but it's just I was astounded in how many people don't get a cold cap or
That
can't
part.
even get chemo
Mhm.
because they may not have the right insurance or for whatever reason got let go with their job. Okay, this is going to probably get me in trouble, but I'm going to let people know this. It is illegal in this country for you to have, if you were going through tumor or something and you lost your health insurance, if you have a major thing, it is illegal to get refused for the health insurance to cover certain things like
Mhm.
cancer or something.
Mhm.
But if you get your health insurance through a particular union or a particular job that has whatever, they do not have to abide by those same laws.
Crazy.
So I was going through COBRA because we got canceled in 2019 and then we had COVID. And I wasn't the only one. A lot of us lost our health insurance.
Absolutely.
And I was going through COBRA, and fortunately something happened and I got to pick it up again. So because I didn't apply to where my insurance was done through. And so it's just a disconnect. And something that I did learn, I really learned this, and I thank my mother for instilling this in me. You, the patient, are your best, you are your own advocate.
Absolutely.
You have to learn to stand up for yourself. You have to learn to say, no, we're not doing that. Or, oh, yes, we are doing that.
Yeah.
And when you go, and when you're, it doesn't matter whether you're young or whether you're old, always have someone you trust with you. You do the question answering and they write it all down.
Yes.
But for instance, my doctor said, oh, you only need a lumpectomy. And I said, what, to go back into the 14% where I left? She goes, yeah. And I go, and no.
Right.
They didn't argue, but I had to ask for the mastectomy. Like, oh, you don't need it.
Yeah.
And women in our breast are, it's a big deal.
Yes, it is.
You know, unless a man could care less if he loses his testicles. He just could care less. They don't care. They don't care.
See the other thing.
As long as they've got their penis, that's all they care about. You know what I'm just saying is, but it's just, there's nothing that a man can have removed that they feel takes away their manhood. Whereas a woman loses her breast, she feels like she's lost her sexuality.
Yeah.
And so that's a very difficult decision that I think a lot of men don't quite, because men go, oh, we don't care.
Yeah.
You know, and so the cold capping, I can't praise it enough. For me doing it, it is a way of getting back. I feel good to be able, I feel like it's been a testimony for me to be able to share my journey.
Right.
And to be able to have the knowledge to answer the questions.
Yes. Yes. And someone to really feel like you get it. Because, you know, I researched after we talked, and yes, you can go through different training, certification, etc., but it is different for someone who's actually experienced it, you know. And like you said, it's tough that you have to be there, or you don't want anybody else to have to go through it. But if you can be a voice, if you could just give somebody comfort through such a terrible time like that, and I'm sure when they're going through the treatments, because I was able to go and sit with my mom, or she'd have a coloring book, or we just try to listen to music or something. That comfort is priceless. And so I just think it's wonderful that you do that. And I know that you have a lot of other things, that you could be doing. I know that you work with different organizations or foundations, to volunteer, to give back to the community. You're very involved in church. So for you to just take that time and be there, it's a godsend, but you are that beautiful person that I know about you.
Well, it is a witness, although I haven't really, I try to share the Lord and dropping hints with people that I do my cold capping. One of my clients is Jewish, and I'm always bringing up things and talking, and we go back and forth on a few things. And I say the one thing that helped me with my journey, when they told me I was cancer free, my girlfriend she was doing the Hallelujah chorus, and I went, yeah, I know. There was never a doubt I was going to be cancer free. Not one iota doubt. So I didn't do the Hallelujah chorus. Did I get on my knees and thank the Lord? But I'd already thanked the Lord when it started that this was just going to be a brief
temporary
setback. This was just a setback. This was just a temporary setback.
it's amazing that you have that though, because after watching my mom, I'm like, I don't think I'm as strong. I don't know that I could be as strong as she was. I just don't see it. I mean, I think about that very first time after they, you know, give you all of this literature that's telling you how terrible you are going to feel. And it's telling you about you're going to lose your hair. You're going to be growing up all the time. It's telling you so many things that the courage to walk into the building, to sit down, to have that first drip. I remember sitting there and just thinking when it first goes in and you know that this is going to happen. And then all the times after that, like the nausea. And remember we talked about the nausea and I was just saying she can't get rid of this. And I remember when you said, "Oh, girl, I got something for you."
Oh, let me tell you, baby.
And
Honey,
I remember
I
you.
said that, and what made me so mad is that when my mother went through all this stuff, I had an opinion about stuff like that. And if I only knew then what I know now, I would
Right.
have found a dispensary, honey. I'd have been shipping the gummies to my mama because it was Kim Whitley.
Yeah, I remember you
It
told
was
me
Kim Whitley. She brought me over a little white bag. That was legal in California. Nothing was illegal.
that. Right.
And she goes, try this.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I'm here to tell you. Now, granted, I was very blessed. I never threw up until I went to the ER for something that was just a perfect storm.
Okay.
But the nausea, the whole idea of being green is real.
Mm.
And the nausea was just miserable.
Mhm.
And while I was taking drugs and they were not working, and finally got one drug that worked, in the interim, those gummies, oh
Mm.
my goodness. If nothing else, just to knock you out enough to get through it. And I totally changed it. I was mad that I didn't tell my mom. And I tell you, even at my church goes, oh my gosh. And I'm like,
Yeah.
girl. And I said, I ain't sitting here to get high.
Right.
Want to do is not the point. And and just like anything else, there are different gummies for
Yes.
different things. This
Yes.
was purely for nausea.
Yes.
Purely. Did I get a teeny buzz off those? Maybe,
And
but it
is
wasn't something to get you. It wasn't that that powerful, and I don't like that anyway. And so I'm here to tell you. Every time someone walks up and says, "I go here, let me. I got something for you. You need to get the prescription for this, and this is the brand, and you know."
well, I
Now,
remember
do I?
you gave it to me.
I
And
did. I sent
first,
them to your mama.
the message that you videotaped and sent to my mother,
Mm.
to this day, I just can't tell you
Oh, you're
how
so sweet.
special that was for me and then for her. And she was just smiling and sharing it with everybody. And it just really, it helped. It did so much to lift her spirits. And then when I told her that you had given me like some little gummies and was like, look,
Mm-hmm.
tell your mother to take this. Well, it took her a minute to even take it because I don't want to get high and I don't want any drugs and I
Absolutely.
don't want anything to interact or interfere with what's
Mm-hmm.
going on. And I kept saying, no, mom, it's not that. And it's not the THC, right? It's the CBD. You're not going to get high. And then I'm thinking, and if you did get a little high, could it be any worse than what you're going
Exactly. It's going to
through?
take your mind off of it.
And so it took her a minute. They sat here, and I remember coming to town, and I said, "Mom, just try it." And she tried it, and she said, I think I feel a little better. Like I'm not feeling that nausea as much." And the other thing that I read about was that nausea it's a mental thing. It's not even that you have to
Mm-hmm.
throw up. They say it's your brain telling you, triggering that gagging and all of that.
Okay, I
So I
see.
was just thinking, okay, well, if you can relax your brain or just
Right.
do whatever it is that can get you through that, because it's everything else. And that's one of the difficult things, because in addition to that, there are just so many other things that come along with a cancer diagnosis.
Mhm.
And for you to be able to get through it is all that you actually, that you can do. And so, like I said, I looked at my mother and the years, 3 years, a little over. I'm just like, thank God, and thank God that you had the will to just keep fighting and doing things that nobody would want to do. And so, we all need somebody like you.
Thank
Every
you.
woman needs somebody like you to just advocate, even if you couldn't be there, everyone's not going to be able to sit there and just put this cap on and go through that with you. But just to be
Mhm.
able to speak your word, your truth, and to let someone know that they're not alone, and, to be able to just change, how they're feeling means
Mhm.
so much, which, I can't,
Thank
I
you.
can't tell you.
It is fulfilling, because I don't doing it all day. It gets really tiring and exhausting. But I
I'm sure.
can say that I am. For instance, both of my clients in a week ring the bell.
All right.
Next week, my Jacksonville client rings the bell, and the week after that, my Fort
Wonderful.
Myers client rings the bell.
Wonderful.
And it's the ringing of the bell. It's
Yeah.
like they are done. They
Mhm.
made it through it. And one of them was like, I'm ready for this to all be over. And I said, but you can feel
Yes.
like you, there is a sense of, I just did that.
Yes, you
I
did.
just did 12 weeks of that. I just did, 20 weeks of that. I just went through it. And you talk about you don't know if you could do it, because I went through with my best friend had ovarian, and I went through everything, and we didn't know about cold. They didn't have cold caps then. And she went through 3 different times losing her hair and
Mm.
all that. And I would just be like, I don't know if I could do this. You don't know how strong you are until you need your strength. On an acting, now we're going to segue into an acting
Mm.
um, antidote. My
Mhm.
father used to say this growing up. And then I became an actress, and I went, you're so right. Um, my father used to hate it when movies portrayed women screaming and panicking at every single solitary thing,
Mm.
plane crashing, um, building happening, earthquake, child in an accident, whatever. I remember breaking my wrist. I'd fallen off a slide. My mother was nurse, came over to take care. My mother never screamed. I was in a car accident once. My mom pulled me, and my mother never screamed. I remember being in situations myself. I had a gun pulled on me inadvertently in New York on a subway. I never panicked. I was as calm and cool and collected. But I've seen women after woman in different scenarios. They get to it. You go into it's fight or flight.
Mhm.
So your brain naturally thinks, how am I going to get out of this? How are we going to fix? Now, when it's all over, you have a complete total breakdown. But
Yeah.
the average woman, there are exceptions,
Mhm.
but the average woman doesn't scream. And they're always portraying women in films and in TV as this, ah, ah, ah.
Can handle
We
it.
don't do that. We don't do that ever.
We have babies,
We had
take care of the
the
husbands.
most painful thing a person can experience is childbirth. You know,
Yes.
that's it's so. I'm thinking, who commits suicide the most? Men, because they don't let their emotions out and all that kind of stuff. But you don't know your own strength until you're put in a position of strength.
Mm.
And then you all of a sudden realize, I didn't think I could do this. That doesn't mean you don't have don't listen. You asked if I ever thought, woe is me, why? No. Did I think woe is me, why? Did I break down and cry because I was feeling miserable? Absolutely.
Mhm.
I mainly broke down and cried because I would be sitting in a chair alone in my house.
Mm.
I wish I had somebody there with me. And it wasn't until my life group I reached out to after the third chemo and had to ask them to step up that they
Mm.
stepped up, and I had somebody with me all the time.
Wonderful.
And that made a big, let me tell you, you also find out who your friends are. These were women that were not my best friends. They were not that close to. And they all took for the next 3 rounds of chemo that week after. They were on rotation. They came to my house. They brought me food. They cleaned my kitchen. They changed my sheets. They looked after me. And then after when I had surgery for 17 days, I had somebody 24 hours a day, round the clock at my house, helping me with all of my fluids and bandages and all that kind of stuff. These were women that I had just met at church. These were not the people that I hung out with and did. And they made a schedule on their own in my life group, and they did. I even wrote to the pastor. I said, let me tell you, my faith in Jesus Christ from day one gets me through everything in life. And
Amen.
it definitely got me through that. But boy, I saw angels. I had living, breathing angels surrounding me during this whole step of the journey. I
That
was
is
prayed for all over this country by you, by other churches. I had people that there's a church in Georgia that I had spoken at many times, and they were big fans. And their whole church prayed for me and sent me stuff. I cannot tell you the outpouring of love that was shown. So I really think it was my faith that got me through a lot. I really do. It's one of those. My favorite verse, the cliche verse. Oh, I hate to say that. I don't mean it that way. But the cliche verse is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But it means nothing. This is what I have a problem with, people just randomly quoting Bible verses that aren't in the Word themselves, because that verse doesn't have a whole lot of meaning until you know the context of which it's said in and the 2 verses prior. So the 2 verses prior, Philippians 4:11 and 12, I will paraphrase because I never remember it word for word. But Paul is writing this while he's in prison. Okay. He is in the dirt. I think he's getting ready to die. And he's saying, I've had it all and I've had nothing. But I will praise him on the hilltop as much as I will praise him in the valley, because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So if I'm going to be happy that the Lord blessed me with the have and have nots, I have to be equally as praying that I have breast cancer.
How about that?
Because he didn't leave me here, he's definitely not going to leave me
That's
here.
true. That's true. That's true. And he's given it to you, but not for you to carry yourself.
Mm-mm.
And once you know that, then the way that you approach it, like you said, and the faith that you have, that it's going to be okay. You're going to get through it, is different, from someone who doesn't know it.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Bible verse says, and lo, though I walk through the valley of death.
Yes.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had Jesus in the fire with him. He didn't lift him out, and then he brought him out of the fire, but he walked in the fire with them.
Yes.
And he walks through the valley of the shadow. He didn't say, I will let you skip over it.
Over. Yeah. Yes. Or around.
We'll skip through the valley. No, it's where we go through the valley.
I love it. Well, that right there, everything that you just said speaks to one of the questions that I had, was just your faith. And, how has faith brought you through? And it's obvious, because you knew that you were not alone, and you knew that you're going through the valley, but you're not. Yes. And so that is amazing. Wow. What I love about talking to you, and just kind of going and opening up, like, all of this things that people don't know about you, is that it just really helps people to understand that when they see somebody like you that can go through, and they see somebody like you that can still have that positive energy, and be there to show up for other people, that they can, they really can. I can. And I think that's important for women. Like you just said to me, you don't know how strong you need to be or you are until you need to be that strong. And
Mhm.
so that just tells me whatever I'm thinking or whatever I was thinking before about everything, about all the stuff that I go through in life and that I'm going through now, that you don't know how strong you are until you need to be it. And sometimes if you think about the fact that it's not just you, that God is with you, and I'm learning that. I have to tell you, I am learning that
Mhm.
as the days go by. I just realized that I do have strength and I just have to lean, I have to trust, and I just have to know that, he is God and there's nothing that he can't do and there's nothing that I can't do, you know?
I will say I'm going through some things right now in my life that I sit there and get a lot of frustrated. I tell people, Lord, I know you're working. Can you give me a tracking number? You know what I'm saying is, can I know a band's coming in my life sometime, just give me a tracking number, or I know you've got the big picture, but can we start wrapping it up?
Right.
And I know this is all for a reason, but when you're in it, it's hard to see that. So, and I feel like I have to be reminded every time you look back and you've been in a situation like this, you've
Mhm.
always come and like when I get out on the other side,
Mhm.
um there's an antidote for that and I can't think of what it is right off the top of my head, but
Brings you through every time.
brings it through every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I look back and I go, I would not want to have to have spent 12 years in slavery like Joseph.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, I've been only, the cancer thing was only probably in total from beginning to end, maybe 5, 6 months.
Mhm.
And some stuff I've been dealing with here have been maybe a year or so. And they're
Right.
not, they're not, they're not major things.
Mhm.
But I'm thinking, Joseph, have strength for that many years. I tell people I'm on chapter 30 of Job, and he
Mhm.
went 44 chapters. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know if I could have made 44 chapters.
Mhm.
And I've been through a lot. I don't know if I could. So I'm thinking you have to find somebody that, for lack of better words, has been worse off than you.
You. Yeah. It's
And they're still going strong. There's always something to be thankful for. And there's always somebody worse than you.
that's true. That is so true.
There's
And you
always somebody lower than the roach.
Mhm. Mhm. And you do have to stop and think about that. And, my dad says that a lot. He's like, "I could be worse, or there are other people, that are a lot worse off than me.
Mm-hmm.
So dare I complain?" You
Yeah.
know?
We call them first world problems. I tell people first world. There was something Veronica, Angela, and I would talk about often. We would gripe about something, maybe to do with our job or something, but
Mhm.
we could only gripe to each other about it
Mhm.
because there was other people that would have no clue. Why are you? You're really complaining over that?
Mhm.
But we wanted to vent to somebody. So doctors do that. We'll vent to each other. We don't vent it in public.
Uh-huh.
We don't vent it, to even, I won't even vent it to some of my friends because they're not even going to remotely relate to something I'm complaining.
That's true.
And we would call it our first world problems. And in the big picture, is it really a problem? No.
Sometimes it's not.
Do I have a roof over my head? Do I have clothes on my back? Do I have food in my fridge? Yep. Do I have a car in the driveway?
Yes. Mhm. And am I getting up in the
And
morning?
and am
And
I still cancer free?
yes.
Now, one thing I want to say that I'm only that before we wrap up today, what is it?
Mhm.
You had asked me a question the other day, and I wrote it down. What shifted within you from the moment you were diagnosed to now?
Yes.
Life is short. Drink the Diet Coke. People say, how's a bad Diet Coke? Whatever. You know what? I just went through. I took care of myself. I dieted, exercise. I'm not saying you can diet and exercise and whatever, but I tell people I have a 15-year shelf life. I might make it another 20 years. Lord might come back tomorrow. But if I look at life expectancy from every woman in my family, my grandma lived to 82, one great grandmother lived to 88, but everybody else kind of somewhere between that 80, 81. So I tell people I have about a 15, 16, 17-year shelf life if I die of natural causes, if the Lord doesn't take me back. And I'm like, I'm drinking the Diet Coke. I don't have 65 years ahead of me.
Right. That's what I keep saying.
I have 65 years behind me. How would people live every day if they knew they only had 15 years? Only had 5 years, only had 10 years, less than 20 years. How would you change everything about your life?
That's a heck of a question. And some people say, don't, why are you thinking about that? I feel it's very relevant, very necessary because that's all
do you know how much paperwork I have received? I've received in 2025 about turning 65. Medicare, AARP, United Healthcare, your pensions are coming. Do you have this? I had nothing in my belt. My mail. They know who you are. And everybody comes after you. They want you to know you're getting old before you know you're getting old. And you're not getting old, but they're letting you know this is the big day.
I'm just ticking.
Nobody sent me cards when I turned 30. You know what I mean? I got nothing in the mail from the government, and now everybody wants a piece of me. Everybody. So it makes you think, am I going to do the next 65 years if I'm going to be Methuselah? Am I going to do, I don't think I'm going to be Sarah or Abraham. So am I going to live the ebbing? I am on the downswing. I'm not on the upswing.
Right.
I am on the downswing. That's just a fact.
Yes. Yes.
So it's not like I'm 50. Even then. It's different. It's different. It's different. So I've taken on, actually, I've taken on a whole different perspective. I don't even think I take as good a care of myself as I did before cancer. I'm like, why? I mean, do I have a body part breaking down, I think, every single day? Possibly. But you just have to take on, am I going to go eat a dozen Dunkin' Donuts every day? No. Right. I'm not saying go crazy, but I'm like, eat the hamburger.
That's right.
Get a Diet Coke.
That's right. And take time. Just take time and do those things that you keep wanting to do and you just keep thinking, but I don't have time. No, take time.
Take time. And if you don't have
it, you won't have time.
Right. Somebody asked me yesterday, it was a client. She said, yeah, we want to go take a trip, but with all this TS stuff, we may not want to leave the country right now. And I said, let me tell you something. For someone who has been privileged through 2 national tours to have traveled this country extensively, there is so much to see in the great United States that you do not have to get on a plane and fly to another continent.
That's very true.
You can get on a plane by another state, or guess what? You can drive to another state, and you don't have to show your passport when you enter said state.
Right. Or stand on incredible lines.
Exactly. And some things don't cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Gas. But, I mean, people say, I don't have money, but I have a lot of time. I mean, I don't have any money, but I have a lot of time. And then you don't have any time when you have a lot of money.
How about that?
And that is the thing. But then you got to think, well, what can I do that can take the best of both?
Hmm.
And sometimes sitting in my own bed watching the TV is just fun.
Right. Or like you said, some days you just don't have to get out your pajamas. And it's okay if you sit there on your bed. If you have nothing else to do, which is one of the reasons why I love the We Do Not Care Club. Are you familiar with that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Someone told me she
We,
has cancer. Doesn't she have cancer?
I didn't hear that.
Someone told me that. I could be wrong, but I love that we do not
I
care.
didn't hear that. But you have to come to that place. As women, we do so much for so many people. We wear so many hats,
Mhm, mhm,
roles, and we just don't take time sometimes, or we're so concerned about things being perfect. Sometimes like I do sit and I just look at the house and something will bother me like crazy and I have to get up and fix it and then come back and lie down because then I feel better because it's cleared, it's straightened.
mhm, mhm.
But I do have those moments where I'm like, I just really do not care. And if somebody comes in this room or comes in this house and they want to judge, then they can walk right back out that door
But they
because
do.
I've done way too much. I work, I go stand on my feet. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Sometimes don't even take lunch. I'm not gonna come here and be worried about that. I gotta go in there and I gotta cook something and do all of that. No. So sometimes you do have to get to that place where, just don't care. And you've earned that. I think we all have.
Mhm.
And I'm right behind you. I look at 61 and I'm like, I have fewer years in front of me than I do behind me. And so whatever I'm doing with these, I'm going to try to find some peace and some comfort and just not stress
Mhm.
about those things. And like you said, just do those things that you like to do. And it could just be taking a walk or driving somewhere, like you said, and just sitting out by a lake or going with your girlfriends and just, having a day or two where you
Mhm.
sit and you do those things that really do bring you joy. That's where I'm at these days. And
It's my house is a disaster right now, and mainly because every time I say, "Okay, today I'm going to work on this thing,"
Mhm.
either A, I'll book a job, or B, I don't will, or the weather or something has been getting in the way, so it's just taking me a little longer to do certain things, and
Right.
that probably irritates me more than anything. But then I also just sit there and go, "I'll do it tomorrow." I mean, I'm not. I don't do that. Or
Right.
someone said, "Let me show you this," and I'm trying to build two businesses now. Well, it's one business under one platform, Regal Seasonal Decor, where I do Christmas holiday seasonal installations, high end, as well as tablescapes. And as soon as we hang up, I'm actually calling somebody that I'm working on my website, and
Sure.
I have another friend helping me and sending me all this stuff. He said, "Oh, you need to listen to this," and I go, "Wait, I do not have the bandwidth.
Okay.
The brain is full."
It
And
is.
until I download some things and get some of this off, I do not have the bandwidth to put more in. And that I think needs to be happening at any age. But it also it goes along with being able to say no.
That part.
You have to know, I want to do this. Okay, have you ever gone to the Metropolitan Museum of Art?
No.
Okay, okay, let me pick something else. Have you ever gone to a massive museum
Mhm.
anywhere?
Mhm.
Anywhere.
Uh-huh.
I use the Metropolitan Museum of Art specifically because it's got such a variety of things. Like,
Right.
I went to the Civil Rights Museum 100 years ago thinking I was going to spend 45 minutes there, and 3.5 hours later I walked out and I read every living thing. And then I went to the Holocaust Museum, did the exact same thing.
Mhm.
But if you've ever been to the Smithsonian or the
Mhm.
Metropolitan Museum of Art or something that is like that but very diverse,
Uh-huh.
I didn't think this was possible. So I learned after the first time I went. I started on the ground floor, and I started in Egypt with the pyramids. And then I moved up, and then we got to the Rembrandts. By the time I got to what I really would have liked to see, I couldn't. I was on cultural overload. I could not take in another piece of art. I couldn't take in another painting. I could not. There was no way. It was all a wash.
Mm-hmm.
And it was too much. So now when I went back years later, same thing with the NEA Museum, I go straight to the floor, to the site that I want to see.
Right.
I cut straight to the Monets, or straight to the costumes, or straight to the whatever, what I really want to see.
Right.
And if I have, it's the same thing with going to the Getty Museum.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
After a while, you don't want to see it all.
That's true.
And that's not even that big, so it's the same thing. Our brains cannot, we have to take in, reflect, consider, download, and get it out. We can get overloaded.
Yeah.
And so.
And I do think it comes more with maturity, when you realize that. And then some people may not, and they'll just run themselves into the ground.
That's why children's have a meltdown if they don't get a nap.
I know. How about that? They have to take a break. And a friend of mine was telling me one day, he said, one of the reasons why you can't remember like just 15 minutes ago, or sometimes like you go in a room and you're like, what did I come here for? He's like, you have so many things in your brain from way back, baby, toddler, teenager, adolescent. There's so much already in there that the stuff that's coming to the front, like that's coming in now, it takes, you know what I mean? There's no space for it sometimes. Now, I don't know if that's really, accurate, but it makes
Why
sense.
did we wake up at 3 a.m. and wonder why we turned right instead of left in 1965 or 79 or in 83? Right. Why did we go to that store in 83 and buy that pair of jeans?
Why did I tell that boy?
Yeah, why did I tell that boy?
I was 16 when I was only.
Why did I go out with that man?
But it makes sense because you look at like my dad. He won't remember, certain things and like where that street is and okay, well, who was he? But he will tell me about the time that Tony, the Italian guy that lived on the block where he grew up, they went out on the boat and he knew he wasn't supposed to be on that boat. And one of the neighbors knew that they were on the boat, and the mama and the daddy was standing there waiting when they come paddling back. Listen, he remembers those moments like nothing else. And I just sit and I listen to him. All of that stuff he remembers, but it's what's happening kind of right now. That's the challenge, to remember.
Now, we remember every single time our mama stood in that front door when those street lights came on and said, you better get your butt back in this here house before every single time. I remember every time I got my full name said.
Right. That's right. Because you knew you was in trouble then.
I remember all that. I feel like I remember more of my childhood than I remember my adulthood sometimes.
That's true. That is true. I think about that. And then sometimes I know, like talking to my husband, he would like to think that I don't remember things, but I remember.
Oh, women remember everything.
We sure do.
And we can pull it up on command.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you.
Absolutely. I love this. I love this time that we've had. I mean, we do this every time that we talk, but for you,
this is a long podcast. Like I said, I hope your fans stay with you.
We're gonna break it up, and they can take it. We can come, and we don't care. if it's too much, they can take it in pieces.
Right,
But
right.
but there are just so many valuable nuggets, that we've shared here that are so important to share. And I just, again, I'm just so thankful for you and everything that you have been to me. I'm sitting there watching Katheryn Cryer, and had no idea that she was going to be my friend.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. That you're so
Love
sweet. And I
it.
mean, I live G from, I am one of these people, and you probably are because you're in the business that,
Mhm.
you know, when you and I were growing up,
Mhm.
we had the JC Penney and
Yes.
we had Woolworths,
A Woolworth.
and we
Wow.
may have, I lived in a small town as a child, and we had whatever department store of that small town was,
Uh-huh.
whatever that was. I think mine was called Miller's.
Okay.
It was in Oak Ridge, Tennessee.
Okay.
And I come to Jacksonville, and then there's J.C. Penney, and it was May Cohen at the time, and other things that are no longer with us. But every town, every state has their whatever it was. But
Mhm.
there wasn't a lot. So consequently, you got to know your salespeople.
Yeah.
If you walked into Woolworths every day, you knew Mr. Johnson at the whatever, and were if you frequented this drugstore or that, you got to know salespeople.
Mhm.
Now, the only time, sadly, that really happens anymore is if you go into a high-end store like a
Mhm.
Neiman Marcus or a Saks, because they write it down. And I worked for Lily Rubin for a while back in the day, and we were asked to keep a client book.
Mhm.
And it's just, I was always getting email. Now, but with you, we just connected over nothing.
Mhm.
I think I was okay looking. We connect. You recognized me, and then I
Right.
think at the time I was only buying Joe Malone at the time. I never was over
Uh-huh.
really near your section, and
Right.
you followed me one time all the way up to clothing. You were my sales lady for the whole store.
Absolutely. I mean, because that's what we're supposed to do. And that is how you get to know someone, and that's how you provide exceptional service. Because I can see you, and you wanted that candle from Joe Malone. I get the candle, box it up, wrap it up, put the bow on it, put it in the bag with the tissue paper. It's all beautiful. And you walk out the door. That doesn't give us much time to talk, to get to know each other, for me to
Right.
find out what room are you putting this Joe Malone candle in. So now you're telling me about your bedroom. Now you're telling me about your home, design, the fact that you are passionate about this. So naturally, we walk upstairs and take a look, at our home department. Naturally, I want to show you other designers, I mean, it's just, to me, that was part of me. And I didn't come from retail. So actually, when I took the job because I just wanted to settle. I didn't want to be going on castings and being put on hold and having to fly out and do some of the jobs that I was doing because, Theo,
Mm-hmm.
uh, in sports, and I just wanted to be there, and I wanted to be there for him in school and every other way. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, they're not going to hire me because I don't really have any background, but I had other
I had to
background.
take a drink. Sorry about that.
But I had other background, in working as an actress in training videos for, retail conglomerates. So when I got hired, to me, it was just a natural desire to be able to work with people. It was just for me to be able to talk to people. Sometimes the girls would come and they would say, well, you were talking, to her for a long time. You were with that person for a long time. What did they want? What did they, and then gee, that took up a lot of your time. And I'm just
Oh,
looking at them like I enjoyed that.
but the
We
other salespeople at that store hated it because I'd come in
oh,
and ask you, and if you were off, I would walk out the door. They would get so mad. Well, I can help you. No, I'll come back and work.
and And you know what? I so appreciate it. Sometimes you text me, you be like, "Girl, I'm just leaving church. Are you at the store?" And
I
I'm
know.
like,
I'll be like,
"No,
you
I'm
ain't
not
there, ain't coming
there
home
today."
today.
And you know
Because
what?
all these girls, don't you want to try this? No. I
Yeah.
came in for that. Well, don't you want? No.
Well,
You're
I
not Nina.
I just so appreciate my clients in that way, and many of them have become
Well, you
friends.
came to my
And
house.
yes, yes, and we've had beautiful times together. We've talked about some things we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to catch up. We got there's some books in there and some other things. So yeah, but I'm just so glad, so thankful that I had the chance to meet you, and I appreciate you taking the time to come. You came and you spoke to the women at the breast cancer awareness
Mhm.
month luncheon that we had, and just things like that. We've just had such a great relationship, and you have given you've always been that person. You've come to luncheons that we've had,
I
and
do it all.
yeah, and people will sit and they just be like, "Oh, I met her. I met Renee, and I love Renee." Or if I say, "Okay, we're doing something 6 months from now, is Renee coming?" Because they just knew that you just
Mhm.
had such a beautiful personality, and that's what makes you
I'm just
memorable, and
thank
that's
you.
meant a lot to me. And
Thank
now
you.
that our doors at Topanga will no longer be open, that's gonna change things for some people. But you know what? For me, it's one of those things where we've been talking about this for a while. It's something that you treasure and then you move on. And all of that I did there and all the moments that we shared will be shared somewhere else. You
I know,
know?
it's just it's a big, it's kind of like a nail in the coffin of one more thing for me to say goodbye to from California, and
Yeah, I know. But
it
there's
just,
Beverly Hills, you know?
what? There's what?
There's Beverly Hills.
Yeah, it's different.
I know. It is different. People don't understand that, and they don't understand the clientele, that we had and what made our store special.
Exactly. It, it's just different.
Different
I,
feeling.
I I could say something, but I'm not
Yeah.
gonna. But I'm not gonna say. But I'm just saying it's just different. It's
Yeah.
just.
And
And
it's
I keep wondering, what are they going to put in Topanga? Are they going to put a Saks there? Are they going to put a DSW? What are they going to put in that space?
I have no idea. I don't know what they're gonna do, but,
I don't. They cannot, if they get rid of all of the, for lack of better words, if if they start getting rid of every semi upscale store,
mhm.
it's just going to be another mall, and the whole thing will collapse.
Yeah. Well, I doubt if they will because, Nordstrom is there. I don't think Nordstrom is going anywhere. I do think there was
That's right, Nordstrom. Nordstrom's
yeah,
there. I forgot.
there was a question, with regard to the lease. The lease, I think, was coming up or again to be renewed. And so, there are a lot of things, that come into play. But the thing is not my company.
It's not your company. Exactly. Exactly.
And one of the things that made it what it was, I believe, is the people that were there.
Totally.
And I just take pride, in what I was able to contribute, and just looking forward to this next phase in life because as we said, we got fewer years in front of
Yeah.
us.
Much fewer years. Yeah.
We need to make the most of those and find that next place, and next time and those next things that are going to make us happy.
Hmm.
So that's where I'm at.
It
And
is.
I just I have a question that I want to ask you because
Hmm.
I mean you've left so many amazing things, for women to be able to come away with. Um, I think about um, legacy because you are a woman with a legacy that is going to have a great impact. I know that it is. And I don't know all of your family and all of your friends, but I know that about you. And I think everybody else that knows you knows that as well. So I wanted to ask you, what do you see your legacy being?
Wow, I don't know if I've ever thought about that. I do know that I want people to know I lived the dash.
The dash.
Um, there have been times as of late that I think I've wasted the dash, but maybe I think I'm taking some rest. But I say I lived the dash. For, do I, there isn't a single person alive that I think can look back and regret a decision they made or regret a path they took. Or if I had done this, then this would have happened and this would have happened and this. But I can't cry over spilled milk or water under the or woulda, shoulda, coulda. I have to go, how am I going to continue on from now? And people always say, I don't think so much anymore, but they used to always say, you have more energy. If I could bottle your energy, I would make $1,000 or something. And and people are always saying, you're always going somewhere, doing this, doing something, that, doing this. And while I feel like I'm slowing down a little, I'm trying to rev back up. I'm kind of taking this time to re-energize, to rev back up. I always wanted to take advantage of everything.
Mhm.
And I've always been very goal oriented and very driven. So I guess like I just said, my legacy would be she loved life to the fullest, but everybody that knows me knows how much I love the Lord.
Mm.
And while I feel like my walk sometimes isn't what I think it should be or what the Lord would want it to be of me,
Mhm.
He has still been my foundation and always will be my foundation.
Mhm.
So I guess my legacy would be enjoy the day. I mean, enjoy everything, see everything, do everything. Just don't let life pass you by. Don't get up, work the 9 to 5 for 40 years, 50 years, get the gold watch and call it a day. Um, our world is changing. My industry is changing. And there's not one thing I can do about it. I can't do what I did when I started out in this business. It doesn't apply anymore.
Mm.
And I have to make a decision. Do I want to fight as hard for the last 15 years as I did for the first? So um, I guess legacy. I know in my dad's lineage, I'm the last of the Lawless.
Mhm.
My cousin has two daughters. So unless one of them has a boy and they put Lawless in their name, the name Lawless ends with us.
Mm.
And I own that.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Legacy. Well, I'm going to have to think. I hope I've acknowledged, said what you think about living the dash. My legacy was that I lived my dash. I took
Yes.
every minute between birth to death to the fullest, and
Mhm.
I didn't miss a beat.
Mhm. I love
And I
it.
would encourage everyone else to do that. I cannot, I'm trying, I'm at the age I'm at now, and I'm trying to start a whole new business.
Mm.
You know, do I still love performing? Do I still audition? But I am not sitting by the phone anymore.
Mm.
I'm not waiting for life to happen anymore. Nor am I pounding the pavement and knocking on the doors anymore. I've put in the time. Just
Mhm.
because the everything changed, maybe I don't have the energy right now to change with it.
Mm.
If it was 20 years ago, absolutely.
Mm.
And I'm people say, well, I have people say, well, what are you doing with your life right now? I say, whatever the Lord wants me to do. I'm tired of making excuses for this, that, and the other.
Mhm.
So it's whatever the Lord wants me to do.
And maybe it's that season. for you to just be still and do whatever the Lord wants you to do.
Mhm, mhm.
Maybe you are beyond, like you said, the chase, the having to do all of these things because you still have passion, you still have
Mm,
fire, you still have drive, you still have gifts. You have gifts beyond acting, beyond
right.
some of those other things that you did. And I've seen it. I see just how creative you are. And what you do with a space, your house for Christmas, oh my gosh, and every other holiday.
Yeah.
But I mean, that talent is a true gift and it's a true love. And for you to be able to share that with someone, even if it's just having your Christmas party and people come over, and we just had, I had a beautiful time that one time that I came,
Mhm, mhm.
and it's just something, it's like your gift to your friends and to your family. So right now, your gift, it's okay for your gift to be a little different than
Mhm.
it was before. And I
And if
think,
it's supposed to happen, if I'm
mhm,
supposed to do something else, it will happen.
yes, that part. And think about it. Getting ready to start a new business. So it is, life is not over, and it's
Mm,
not like you're just quitting and just like doing nothing like you said. You're
mhm,
getting ready to do something else. And a lot of people don't have that. They
mm,
may not even have the chance to do that next thing, or they
mhm,
may not have the talents that you have. So
mm.
I think it's beautiful. And you know, sometimes when
Thank
we
you.
start something new, you're welcome. When we start something new, sometimes that's even better. And especially if there's passion in it. You know, and I'm learning that because, you know, it's time for me to do some new things and some other things and just add to what I was doing before. And
Mm,
so instead of thinking, okay, about those things that you won't be doing any longer, it's what you're doing going forward. And it could
right,
be just as beautiful. It'll serve you in a different way.
right.
So that's part of what I've been just kind of immersed in lately is the theme of resetting, reclaiming, and renewing. And I've been talking about this with different women. I had the opportunity to sit on a panel, and you know, I've spoken when we've had lunches and different things,
Mhm,
introduce products, but I've never really sat on a panel before. And you know, it was a beautiful breakfast, and that was the theme. It was about resetting, renewing, reclaiming you, you know, and
mhm,
those things that matter most. So
mhm.
I'm learning that, and we have to keep each other posted
Right, exactly, exactly,
and what we got going on and
exactly,
coming up.
exactly.
And I thank you. I thank you so much for
Thank you.
taking so much time
Pleasure.
and
My
just being
pleasure.
here with me. Absolutely. You are a beautiful soul, as I
Oh, thank you.
promised to everyone. You are.
Thank
You
you. Thank
always have been. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who will be listening,
you.
who'll be checking out just those little moments and the entire episode with Miss Renee Lawless, my
Thank you.
beautiful friend. And
Thank
again, thank you for joining the Mama Bear podcast, where love and wisdom are shared and somebody is finally listening.
you. Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you. Love you.
Love you too. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Mama Bear podcast on YouTube. And we'll see you next time in the den.
Okay. Bye.
Aw.